The price we pay for the decisions we make often have lasting repercussions, making the decisions we make become even more magnified if we have a career in the spotlight. This is certainly true for acclaimed actor Will Smith, who, after the infamous slap heard around the world, is paying a steep price, being banned and suspended from all activities from the Academy of Arts and Sciences for the next decade, including the Oscars. So, as we turn the page and investigate the next chapter and layer of this story, the question is, how has Smith's public perception within the general public and the Hollywood community changed? To get some insight and perspective on this hot button story, I turn to Mark Daniell, the national entertainment editor for Sun Media, who stopped by the program to provide some inside knowledge on how Smith can rebuild his career and reputation. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. Fantastic. So, Mark, if you're ready, I'll take a moment to welcome you to the program. And I'm super excited to be with you to talk about the Will Smith situation. Great to see you this morning, and thank you so very much for being here.
Hi, Kevin. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, Mark, tell me, what did you initially think of the slap when it initially happened, and what did you think of the Academy's ultimate decision?
Well, I think like everybody, Kevin, when the slap happened, I thought it was part of a bit. I thought it was a gag. I thought it was a joke between Chris and Will. It wasn't until Will went back to his seat and started yelling the expletives that I realized, along with everyone else, that this was actually not a bit, not scripted, and that Will was quite angry. I think I was shocked. Certainly, a lot of people were shocked. As for the second part of your question, Kevin, the Academy's decision, the Academy had to do something. I think 10 years, it does send a message. It means for 10 years, when people tune into the Oscar broadcast, there'll be no presence of Will Smith. Even if Will is in a movie that ends up getting nominated, you won't see Will Smith in the audience. You won't hear from Will Smith on the red carpet. So I do think it's a significant measure against Mr. Smith, and I do think his presence, his absence for 10 years. That's almost a whole generation of moviegoers who won't even see him at this prestigious award show.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do you think it'll affect his public image? Do you think he can rebuild his career?
Yeah, Kevin, that's the big question. How is this going to affect his career? So Will had a number of projects kind of on the go, like a lot of actors. A lot of those projects are now on hold. Will's next movie is a film called Emancipation. He had already completed filming that. That's going to be on Apple TV Plus. There was no premiere date for that film given yet. So how's this going to affect his career? That's a big question. I think Emancipation is done. Emancipation will get released in some form. It is an awards contender. So, the Apple, I think, would still hope to get a Best Picture nod for that film. But as for his upcoming stuff, I think you're not really going to see much from Will Smith. Maybe for the next few years, I think Will's going to take a break. I think he will stay away and stay out of the public eye before we see him come back. But that's, I can't. That's a really good question, and one that I can't really answer because it's unprecedented in Hollywood to see something like this expression of violence, and then the fallout from that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, do you think he's remorseful for what he did, or what do you think sparked that in the first place?
So I think Will missed an opportunity when he was awarded the Best Actor prize for King Richard. He had a moment where he could have come on stage and expressed remorse for his actions, and he didn't do that. He did not apologize to Mr. Rock on stage in his speech. After the Academy Awards broadcast was over, there were pictures, there were videos circulating on Twitter of him dancing and laughing and having a good time at the post-Oscar parties. It wasn't until the next day, Kevin, that he expressed any sort of remorse to Mr. Rock, and he did it in an Instagram apology. I do think, Will Smith has a career that stretches back decades. I think Mr. Smith definitely recognizes how this has hurt his public image. I think he recognizes how this has hurt his business, his line of work. He's going to have some trouble finding acting work in the coming months and years. So I think he's remorseful on that front. Whether there's a personal history between him and Mr. Rock, I don't know. But I definitely think there is some regret as to how it affected his career for sure.
And when we look at Chris Rock's part in this, how do you think this incident will affect his career moving forward?
Yeah, Kevin. So, Chris Rock, he's on a stand-up tour right now. Following Mr. Smith's attack on him at the Academy Awards, sales for his stand-up tour were through the roof. Here in Toronto, he's going to be playing at Scotiabank Arena in June. And last I checked, there was just a smattering of seats available in a 16,000-seat arena. So that's pretty good for Chris Rock. I think there's going to be a lot of demand to hear from Chris Rock in the form of an interview. So maybe you'll see a sit down with Oprah Winfrey or a sit down with Ellen DeGeneres, something along those lines, really high stature. And then Rock, of course, people are going to want to work with him. There'll probably be movie offers coming his way. So I think this has definitely elevated him in the public eye for sure, definitely.
Yeah, my final question for you today, Mark, has to do with their individual languages. How do you think it'll affect both of them? Because for specifically the African American community, they were both viewed as role models for young men and actors specifically. So how do you think it'll affect their languages?
So listen, Will Smith is an actor who's cultivated so much goodwill over the past several decades as a black actor, but also just as a star that people have gravitated towards and really love and support and want to see do well. Will is somebody, he's one of those rare actors who you want to see one of his films when you hear Will Smith has a movie coming out in the theater. He's excelled at comedy. He's excelled at drama, action. He crosses all genres. And I think he crosses all kind of types of moviegoers. He's an entertainer. And so people really like him. And I think that's what made his actions at the Oscars so disappointing. I don't think myself, I'm going to speak strictly for myself. I'm someone who loves Will Smith. And I still don't know how I feel about it. I don't know how I'm going to feel if he comes back in 5 years and does Bad Boys 4. Will I be able to forgive and forget that? Well, you'll have to check back with me then and see how I feel. As for Mr. Rock, he he made the best of a really bad situation. He was able to keep the show going. I think the show could have gone completely off the rails, and I think it would have stained both careers. I think in the end, he came out looking more like a gentleman. And I think people, when you go back 20, 30 years from now, people will remember how Chris Rock handled himself with such poise and dignity in a moment where he was really, denigrated in front of millions of people around the world. Kevin, don't forget, Chris Rock is someone who's spoken about being bullied as a youngster. So I feel like, there probably was a moment there where Chris Rock really wanted to react and he chose not to. He took a different, higher path. And I applaud him for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And more following something if people want to get connected with the great work that you do, buddy. What's the best way they can do that?
Well, they can look me up at thetorontosun.com. I'm also on Twitter at @MarkHDaniel. And they can also drop me a line at mdaniel@postmedia.com.
Fantastic, Mark. I know how busy your schedule is, buddy, so I really appreciate a few minutes revisiting this situation. Your work in the space of entertainment is most appreciated, and I want to thank you for being here today.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks for inviting me on. It was great to talk to you.